Okay, welcome. We've got our 6 parts built and we are going to complete the assembly. I'm going to go ahead and move over to the assembly tab, and I'm going to, work in the order in which I built the parts. So the very first piece that I had modeled was the end of the frame. I'm going to select that from my Part Studio. I'm going to hit the little green check mark, and by hitting the green check mark and not using my left mouse button to click over here, it's going to place it in the assembly area relative to the origin, the way it was in the Part Studio relative to the origin. Now, it's not fixed, so I could click and drag it and move it like that. I'm going to undo that move. I'm going to go ahead and right click and choose Fix. That's going to lock it in space so that I can move it relative to the origin. Now I can pan in my graphic window, but notice the origin's moving with it. Okay, let's go ahead and bring on then the side. Again, it's going to put it where it was relative. I'm going to hit the green check to accept that. And now we're going to use a fasten to mate. That removes all degrees of freedom. I find that it's helpful to move this just a hair away from the other part. Makes it a little easier as I'm selecting things and kind of get an orientation where maybe the two pieces aren't overlapping. From my view, where I kind of know what I'm going to select. I'm going to get that corner right there to match up with that corner, and at the same time I'm also choosing those planes. So I'm using the Fasten to Mate tool right here, and I'm going to hover over this face and then approach that corner. Notice that that disc for the mate connector is parallel to that plane. Then I'm going to come on this piece, again hover over that face to kind of understand the geometry, and then approach that corner, as opposed to, say, coming from this face to that corner. Notice that the disc rotates. So I want to be on that face and that corner. It's going to bring those two corners together, and I'm going to accept that. Alright, next let's go ahead and bring on another end piece. So insert, frame end, and this time I am going to just left click. Now this piece is going to basically, I'm going to think of this end kind of rotating around over here, and as I do that, this edge is not going to fit in here. It's going to be that edge that rotates and faces around towards me. So this corner is really going to nest right into that corner. So let's use the Fasten Mate again from this face and that corner. There we go. And then this face and that corner. Now Onshape doesn't know exactly how I wanted to do that, so I'm going to reorientate the second axis in this menu. If I click this, I can cycle through some options and get it where I want it, and that looks great. I'm going to accept, and I'm going to repeat with now the other side piece. So let's insert, we'll put it over here, Fasten Mate, and again, I'm not going to think of flipping, I'm going to think of rotating. This side is going to rotate and come all the way over here. Alright, so nested into this corner, right? That's going to spin all the way around over here and mate with that corner. Alright, again I'm going to cycle through some options, and that looks good. Okay. Next up, let's go ahead and I don't know if it's going to be easier to bring the divisors in or the dowels. It shouldn't matter. I think we're okay. Let's go ahead and try bringing the dowels in. Again, I can hit that green check, but I am going to move this so that I can see the ends. I'm going to use the Fasten Mate again, and I want to get right inside that hole. I want that circle that's on the inside, not this outer edge. So I might have to move my mouse, I might have to change my zoom, I might have to rotate a little bit to be able to get that. Alright, and then that is going to mate with the end of my dowel. There we go. And sometimes it may be going the wrong direction. So this reverse kind of flip the axis arrows, reverses that, and make sure you get the right one. All right, let's go ahead and bring on 2 more dowel rods. We'll repeat the exact same step. Zoom in, get that inner circle. Flip the axis. There we go. All right, next, our horizontal dividers are the ones that are going to go parallel to the dowel rods. So let's try bringing those in first. Let's see, divider horizontal, there it is. Again, if I hit the green check mark, it puts that first one exactly where it was modeled in the Part Studio. I find that easy, and then I can just click and pull it away just a hair. To use the Fasten Mate. I'll get that corner to align to that corner. Accept. And let's bring on the other one. I'll use that one over here. That corner is going to nest right into that corner. All right. Let's go ahead and bring in our vertical ones. Let's see, insert. Vertical. Accept. Again, I'm going to scoot that just a little bit. And kind of placed it down in space. I can always come into an orthographic view and kind of drag it and change that orientation if that helps. So in the orthographic views, I have better control over where it's going. When you're in isometric, sometimes it's hard to tell or control which direction it's really moving. Fasten Mate, get that corner and that corner. All right, there you go. So we've got everything except the spinners. Now the spinners, they are going to be a little different in that we're going to have to create an offset. The distance here, this width, was 1/4 of an inch bigger than the spinner's length. So we're going to create, we're going to create an 1/8 inch offset when we bring it in. The other thing is that I want it to actually spin in the assembly, so I'm not going to use a fastened mate, I'm going to use a revolute mate. Once you open any of these mate kind of windows, whichever one you pressed, you can change right here in this tab the type of mate. And so right now we haven't talked about any of the other ones other than fastened. So this will be our first time in my class using revolute. Alright, I need to bring on a spinner first. Alright, so that's kind of exactly where I modeled it, which is the right place. But I actually think it's going to be helpful to hide the dowel, because I'm going to basically align it to the hole and kind of get the offset from the edge there. So I'm going to zoom in and notice there's a mate connector that's right in the center of that hole. I'm going to choose that. I'm going to rotate my view a little bit, and I'm going to come in and get the center of the hole. Okay, now at the same time, those mate connectors, it brought those planes together. You see that? So it slid it over. I'm going to choose this box in the menu to create an offset, and then I'm going to change this offset to 1/8 of an inch, 0.125. Now it might go in the opposite direction that I want. I'm going to hit enter to get a preview. Yes, it did. I kind of thought it might. So I'm going to change this to a negative 1/8 of an inch, and it moves it away. I'm going to accept that. And now I know the dowel is not there, but if I try to move this, you'll see that it revolves still. So I've not removed all degrees of freedom. I basically picked an axis. I've kind of picked points that have to stay aligned, that when connected, if you could imagine the line that would run through them becomes our axis, and then those mate connectors, those discs, those planes have to stay parallel. Okay, so let's bring on all of the other spinners, and at this point you probably get the idea, and you don't need to watch me do 9 of them. Maybe you want to see me do one more, but I would just repeat the process until I get them all done. Okay, so again, it's the Revolute mate. We're choosing Revolute here in that drop down, and going in, getting the center of the hole on the spinner. No, it doesn't want to get that. I'm clicking and it doesn't go, and then I finally get it and it shows up twice. Sorry. Alright, so we get that, and then we're going to choose the offset, and we'll try negative 0.125. This one needs to be positive, which I thought, because I'm coming from the other side. Alright. I'm going to accept, and now I didn't actually have to turn that menu off. It was ready to let me kind of keep going with that same type of mate. That one's down below. Offset, negative 0.125. Alright, so you can see how those are working, and I'm just going to continue on. And there I am. I've finished all of them. The only thing that should move now is the spinners. Now I did never go back and add a different logo for another side, so that's something I would need to do to finish off, and I might go back to my Part Studio and edit some of the appearances. But that does finish up our assembly. To create the exploded view, I would pull over these panels right here. The third one down is the exploded view. You have to choose Add Exploded View. This little notification pops up that says that you're editing Explode 1, and when you're done doing all the pulling and tweaking, if you will, you'll hit the Done button. This is pretty easy. You simply grab a part, and the triad comes up, and you're going to use the arrows to pull it apart. Okay, and then if you like that step that you did, hit the little green check mark here. Don't hit the Done here till you're done exploding all the parts, but you'll get steps up here. Click in the white to deselect the part and to start again. So I'm just pulling it all apart. I can move multiple parts at the same time, so my horizontal dividers, I can get both of them selected at the same time and pull them both up. Let's see, I might I want to do all this in the isometric view, okay? Bring the vertical one straight down. And I might leave it like that. Kind of good enough. It's not fully. I do have my dowel, one of my dowels hidden. I'll bring that back on. But there you go. It shows, for the most part, how it all goes together. It's a pretty good view. All right. So when you're done with that, you just hit done right here. And now you have an exploded view. And when you bring on an assembled view, or an assembly view, when you're doing your drawing sheets, go ahead and bring on the assembly. But then in the menu, in the drawing sheet, once you've chosen the assembly view, there will be a little drop down where you can choose what type of the assembly you want to bring on. It'll probably say default for the first one. Hit that drop down, and underneath there you'll see the choice of explode one. And if you've created other exploded views, you'll have those will all populate there. All right. So after building and assembling, my next challenge would be to try and recreate the drawing sheets that I provided to you as an example, or as providing all the dimensions. Could you go back and then recreate those documents for yourself from your own work? Good luck.